sin is at an all-time high. This is the most evil generation since the inception of man. Worse than the flood. Worse than Sodom and Gomorrah now. And I think part of that has to do with the fact that we can instantly communicate with everybody around the world, and we are propagating sin in a way we never used to. If you wanted to have a sexual sin, you had to go do it with somebody. But now we can just open a phone and do things on the phone. And Los Angeles is California, but mostly Los Angeles, #1 exporter of pornography to the whole world. Something like 65% of it's all made in California. We should be not only ashamed of that statistic as Americans, but fearful for the kind of things that they're opening up to the country with that kind of filth, with the demonic world. And then you look at the rest of Hollywood and how there's a lot of other problems. I just saw Nicole Kidman has a new movie coming out who alleges to be Catholic. They almost gave it an X rating. In our day and age, imagine that. So they had to cut stuff to get it down to R. But she has a preoccupation. It's having an affair, but also preoccupation with sex with animals. So we're going to a whole new level. And this is a mainstream film that teenagers are going to watch and maybe get hooked into something even darker. Okay, this is my issue with Hollywood. Do not tell me you're Catholic and then produce such filth and drag other people into your mess and then come to church on Sunday and sit in the pew. Excuse me. It's not okay. We put up with it with the politicians for long enough, but the Hollywood has to be held accountable too. Like, they're hurting the kids. They're hurting them.
What about social media?
I don't like it for very specific reasons. So Instagram is basically peddling envy. Twitter's peddling anger. And Facebook's basically just selling you. And for all those reasons, I don't like it. And particularly for the children. I worry so much for the teenagers and the up-and-coming teenagers, because if that's where you're going to get most of your information, it's mostly going to be false. And it's going to create, like, again, if you don't know who you are, and most teenagers don't know who they are yet, the world's going to redefine you. And it's going to tell you you're something you're not. And that you're not worthy, you're not good enough, you're not pretty enough, you're not smart enough, you're not wealthy enough. Oh, when I was a kid, we watched shows like The Brady Bunch and I Love Lucy. And although they weren't, exactly our lives, they were pretty close. Like, they lived in modest, the Brady Bunch house was supposed to be amazing in the day. It's really not that amazing. I Love Lucy, they had 2 bedrooms. And they slept in separate beds because that's the day. But it wasn't like there was envy over their lifestyles. Like, we could relate to them. Mm-hmm. Like, we get it. Today, when the kids are watching TV, it's all these mega millionaires in their big mansions with their private boats and their yachts and their airplanes. And they turn off the program and they think, my life is terrible. I don't have anything. And it's really not true, because almost 2 billion people on the planet don't live in a home. They sleep outside and they have to scavenger for food and they don't have running water. Like, compare yourself to them. And we are living like kings. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So there's been a whole culture of ingratitude by envy that's created through social media and Hollywood.
That's very true. Dom Razzo, the same guy that gave me that rosary, told me that he thought that the iPhone was the forbidden fruit. And then if you look at the
logo is very interesting. It is.
That's what he said.
Accidental? I don't think so.
Is there do you see a lot of symbolism in the world today? Like what we're talking about?
Well, there was a period of time up until maybe 10 or 15 years ago that the devil really tried to remain hidden. And his biggest deception was to convince people he didn't exist. And that went on for a long time, where people were just like, oh, that's just not real, that's fake. Even the head of the Jesuit order right now, the current head, it was just a couple of years ago, he came out and said, the devil's not a real person, it's just it's an idea, it's not real. I'm sorry, Jesus didn't go into the desert and do battle with an idea. I think he was face to face with a man or a person. So even in, the highest levels of religious life in the world, who also from their community, we have a pope. And apparently that guy didn't believe the devil was a real person. So it's an odd time. Where are we going with this?
Symbolism.
Oh, the symbolism. Okay, so, but in the last 15 years, it is all out, I'm alive and well and with you, and I'm proud to be Satan. Worship me, right? We see it at the Super Bowl halftime performances, all these award shows. I mean, it's everywhere, and it's so blatant. And the concerts.
What are some of the specific symbols you're seeing?
Pentagrams, upside-down crucifixes. The Ouija board is everywhere. I was just in a city, the suburb of Pittsburgh. They go, just down the road is the largest Ouija board in the world. It's the whole roof of a hotel. And I'm like, I don't need to see that. But it's growing in popularity. People are getting, and we're coming up on the worst season of the year. So Halloween is the devil's holy day. That's his day. People get angry with me. They say, Father, it's just kids putting on costumes, trick-or-treating. No, not really, because you're really participating in his day. And why would you want to participate in anything that's giving glory to the devil? I had a couple of families in the last parish leave the school, withdrew from the school because we didn't have Halloween in the school. And I'm like, this is your hill you're going to die on, is Halloween? Like, you're not going to do well in what's coming in the future if this is your big thing. Mm-hmm. They left. In New York City, where I'm from, there was an exorcist there when I was on Wall Street. After my conversion, I met with him. His name was Father James Labar, God rest his soul, pioneer exorcist of our day. And he told me that Halloween's the most dangerous season of the year for the homeless. And I'm like, well, why is that? Are they eating bad candy? What's going on here? He's like, no. They have these vans that come around, and they tell the homeless they're going to take them to a shelter. They've got whole big meals set up for them and showers, and they can wash their clothes and all this. And a lot of them get in the vans and go. And then they tie them up and they hold them for the 31st. And then they sacrifice them on the evening of Halloween to the devil. And it's like a perfect crime because nobody's looking for them.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, it's a big deal. It's a real thing. There is a video on YouTube, which I'm shocked it hasn't been pulled down, because it's a guy about 20 years old who was raised in an occult family, and he was groomed to become the chief witch that was going to execute a girl on Halloween and offer her to the devil. And he went through with it, and he talks about it face to face with the interviewer, who's from some Christian network. And he says, it's all part of the ceremony. This is to get more power. We have to offer them a human life. And so it's usually a young woman.
What kind of power do they get?
More demonic power, so they can have more influence, so they can have more wealth, they can have more success. But it's only fleeting. It's not forever. And then, of course, at the end of life, there's a big problem, getting out of it.
Yeah.